A regular meeting on Tuesday, January 4th, 2022 at 4:35 PM. We're in the council chambers at City Hall. We're meeting via remote video conferencing. The public may listen to the meeting by calling 1-312-626-6799. The meeting ID number is 836-2211-7489. With that, I'll call the meeting to order. And, well, I guess with that, we can go around the room and introduce ourselves here. So, Sue?
Sue Schill, City Attorney.
Patrick Delaney, Alderman, 7th District.
Dean Veneman, Alderman.
Jay Bemke, Committee Member.
Shane Blazer, Mayor.
Todd Eckes, Interim Chief.
Jason Joling, Division Chief.
Matt Zacher, Alderman.
We also have Alderperson Jake Ketnaugh on Zoom, and Kyle Kearns is on Zoom, I do believe, and Tim DeZorsi, I think, is joining us on Zoom. So that's it for right now. With that, we'll go to item number 2. Consider a request from the fire department to purchase a life pack, ventilator, and IV pump from the Nakusa ambulance. Todd?
So I handed a page out to you with the costs of those, brand new. It's a pretty unique opportunity. Actually, Nakusa Ambulance come to us and asked if we wanted any of the equipment that was left on the ambulance. Those costs are brand new costs. Over the last 2 months, we had an agreement with them of a coverage, and that number below, the $23,850, is what they owe us for the last 2 months. They are willing to give us that equipment up there for the cost of those 2 months of service. They still would like to give us the check for it and then us pay them back so that there's an accounting line there somehow, that we can track it. But they've offered it to us for that. So I didn't have it in this year's budget, and we didn't in next year's budget because we didn't know we were going to be keeping that 5th ambulance. But with everything that's progressing here and our call volume and stuff, it could be a very useful resource. So I guess we're before you to ask if we could take that $23,850 and invest it in that $53,327 possible cost.
Questions by anybody or comments or anything?
I guess I would just have a question of Tim if he has any issues with this.
Tim?
Yes, exactly what is the purchase price of the equipment?
Sure, I'm sorry, I should have tried to get that to you ahead of time, but I kind of just put this together because this come up late. But the Parapack ventilator is actually brand new, $9,999. A LifePak 15, such as they have and that we need, is a $35,828.88 price tag. And then the Alaris IV pump with 2 extra channels is $7,500. So that all comes to $53,327.88. And then Nakusa owes us that $23,850.
Okay. So basically, you're looking for $30,000 out of your equipment replacement fund to cover the cost of equipping the 5th ambulance.
No, we can pick all that equipment, that $53,000 amount. If we have to buy it new, we can actually get all of that for the $23,850 they owe us. They're willing to give us all the equipment for that, for what they owe us for that 2 months of coverage.
Okay. So basically, you're saying is like what they owe us for the coverage for November, December will cover the cost of the equipment, and what you're quoting us is the kind of the replacement or the cost of that. So it'd be basically what they owe us for coverage that we provided them through our mutual aid agreement would cover the cost of the equipment.
That is correct.
And no cost of taxpayers.
That is correct. And just I failed to say it before, but that LifePak 15 is only 2 years old. I mean, we keep LifePaks for 12 to 15 years. So that's a great value. And Division Chief Joling and I went down and looked at the other 2 pieces of equipment, and they are in excellent shape. So this is a this is a good thing for
Okay.
us, I think.
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, there's no taxpayer dollars involved here.
Not if we use just that 23,850, no.
Thanks, Tim. Anybody else? Oh, Matt.
They had an entire ambulance that these were in before? Am I,
That's correct. They actually had, I think they got 4 ambulances, didn't they? 2 of them were frontline. One of them, the fire department's going to use as a rehab unit, the better one. And the next one really wasn't worth looking at. We did look at some other equipment. Matter of fact, DC Joling is going to be going down there tomorrow. They have some other equipment that we cannot get. It's back ordered, things like epinephrine and other supplies that they're willing to, some of it give to us and some of it we'll purchase out of our 2022 budget that we do have money in there. It's ambulance supplies, and a lot of it is stuff we can't get right now because of the shortage and the supply chain. So
outside of the ambulance that's gonna go to the fire department, they're cleaning house?
yeah, they're still going to use what they call their chase vehicle. Their first responders will use that with calls in the city, and then that other ambulance they'll probably try to sell on Wisconsin surplus. But again, we know that even our ambulances you only get $6,000 or so for, and that's why we kept our last one. Is we can make better use out of it than putting it out and selling it for $6,000. So the other one is pretty old and it's pretty rotten. There's a lot of rust on it. So I don't think that would be worth it. We may look at some other things. I know they got some backboards and things like that, but again, that's stuff that we can take out of our ambulance supply budget for 2022.
Anybody else? Committee? Jake, do you have anything?
No, I mean, if that, as Tim said, it makes sense for them to take that out of their equipment replacement fund or swap out November, December fees. I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to purchase a life pack ventilator and pump from Nakusa Ambulance.
I'll second that. There's no other questions with the committee here. We'll vote. All in favor, respond by aye. Aye.
All right.
Jake? Did I? Aye?
Good.
Sorry.
Then we go to item number 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Preliminary discussion regarding the timeline and process for the 2023 budget. Patrick, I think that was a referral that you had at the last council meeting, and I think for this evening, I guess, however, to proceed with or whatever you might want to talk about and see whatever discussion we have just initially here to get this started. We just wrapped up our budget from the last year, and it'll be to maybe initiate some conversation or get something rolling for over the next few months on looking at things to do either differently or improve on or whatever. So, okay, you have something to start with, or?
Sure. I actually didn't prepare because I didn't see my line item. My line item or my referral was specifically for a balanced budget. And I do think the way to get there is what you have in here is to redo the process that we have going on right now. So, yeah, I think that if we redo the timeline so that what happened with last year, just to refresh anybody else's memory, it just happened, but we got to the end of the year and the first time that we were able to review it at council was in November. So by that time, many of the council members thought that it was too late to make any changes. And the process before that through finance committee actually ran really well. but they thought that it was too late to make any changes, and a lot of people had voted for an over budget budget. So if there's any way that we can start earlier on that so that if we have questions or changes that we can make, I think that'd be good. And we could talk with Tim and see what Tim says.
Yeah, I think, one would be, I guess, whatever we can have for a timeline with the different departments to get the budgets in, I think. If it has to be that it'd be earlier to get in by a little bit, or maybe more, that they are in on time, whatever, that we can set the thing up and maybe start the process a little bit sooner overall. Mayor?
Yeah, I was talking to Tim, and Tim probably can highlight some ideas for you. And he's on Zoom.
Okay. Tim?
Sure. I appreciate, the input on the budget process, and, throughout my years here, it's changed every year. And really it's about what the council and the mayor want for a budget process. And after we going through this year, I've been doing some thinking, and kind of like, okay, how do we want to do this to kind of, so the total council has some more input on the budget process. So, I've talked to the mayor, and what I'm thinking is that I would like department heads have their capital request in by April 30th. Now, I understand it's early and they're just estimates, but once I have that capital, because that's always the kind of the one of those budget items that fluctuates from year to year. If I could have those in by April 30th, then I can do a budget projection and then bring that to council or committee of the whole to saying, okay, here's our budget projection. Here's where I see where our funding sources are coming from. And then we can have, as a city, as a council, a discussion on, okay, here's the direction we want to go, and then give some guidance to the departments about their operating budgets. And I think that will add some input from both the council side and also department heads know exactly what's expected of them. So when we go to approve this later in the year, we're all on the same page.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Mayor?
Yeah, and I've also had some conversations with the library board, and they are trying to be proactive also. And so they're also looking for maybe some direction from the council to kind of, so they can start planning their next year's budget a whole lot sooner if, they need to make adjustments. And so they're kind of watching this and also want to be part of this budget process sooner, so we don't have the same thing happen at the end of the year and they can prepare a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think that'd be if there would be, something, especially like a big item or big amount, that we could take care of it or address it sooner rather than later than in the process, if something could be done with it or not be done, whichever, instead of at the end. So, yeah, so they would, if for them to be involved or us to communicate with them in a different way or them with us too, that I'd be all for that. So,
Yeah, and I'll make sure to keep them in the loop and in part of these discussions and expectations from the council.
Pat?
I just have a question for Tim. I was taking notes while he was talking, and I don't know exactly if he had set a timeline for getting the final budget or the, well, it's not final, but the budget to the council would be.
no, he didn't address that, I don't think. He just, only date I think was at April 30th one, I think.
Sure. I mean, I think it's, it's part of that whole, we can get the capital request, obviously a budget projection, we can have that discussion, but, I think as part of the process also is maybe we have a committee of the whole meeting, kind of put up forth in the calendar so that not only the finance committee, but the whole council has some input on the budget before we start going down to that public hearing council approval. So I think we can set that hopefully sometime in early October, where we can have like a committee of the whole, or the whole budget, the budget is presented to the council, and then they have their input, and that affords us some time for any changes. But I think with the capital in April budget projection, setting expectations based on those discussions and the budget projection, the department heads, that I think we can have a better budget process.
Well, we received the
Um,
last one in October, so I don't see how that is an improvement if we are going from 1 October to the next October. I would think at least 2 months before October.
Tim, you were
You know,
talking about having a committee of the whole, possibly early October.
I mean, the budget process is what you guys want to make of it.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want. I mean, it's like, obviously, the budget process last year, was not what you expected. So I'm saying, okay, what do you want for a budget process? I'm saying it's like April, we get the capital. I give you a budget projections. Then we can set expectations based on that projection, what department has to fill out. And then, basically we have to give department heads time to put in their operating budgets and things like that. But, you can dictate whatever timeline. We will meet that.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. 'Cause I just wanted to, I was thinking about this and I kind of put something together that I think would help give us guidance and not put as much pressure on Tim to have to gather all those documents and try to push for something that might not be ready yet. But we have a pretty good draft already built that most expenses will follow into 2023. And it's the budget we just approved this year. Now, of course, things are going to change, but if the council wants to look at it as if we want to shift where money's spent, that's what we can go off of, because it doesn't change that much year over year unless we're doing large projects. So I think being the budget is one of the biggest things we do as a council, if not the biggest. It's something that deserves at least a monthly meeting. And I think we can do that throughout the year. That's only 12 additional meetings throughout the year to decide of millions of dollars of budget to discuss what's on there and what we want to see gone. And that gives him and the departments more vision when they're putting their budgets together of where we're headed. And we don't have to constantly sit here. They put it together and then we sit there and flash it or approve different things. We can give them that direction. I think tonight we could take a formal or informal adoption on that, just say that we're going to do that, or we could set it to that's going to be our way of operating going forward. Because I think it has to work this way for us to get to where we want to get. Because when it's just a discussion at a certain part of the year, you don't get to be a part of the whole process. And, if it's a plant growing in the pot, the plant's already grown, and then you're trying to take scissors and clip parts off. Whereas if you're just trimming it along the way or, directing growth along the way in the areas you want, you can get there. So that would be my suggestion, is that we just add another additional meeting per month for finance and property, or it's addressed every month at finance and property, that we can talk about specific areas of the budget and where as a council we would like to see them in 2023. Those are my thoughts on where we could do as far as an outline for that. And I don't think that's doing too much. I think that's what we should, a council, or as a committee at least, being the finance committee, should be doing, so that we don't get stuck in a situation that I've seen every year I've been on council and at the Finance and Property Committee, and that's not anybody's fault. It's just how it's worked, is that it comes out at the end of the year with the same kind of issues.
Thanks, Jake. Matt? Go ahead, Matt. Okay, whichever one wants to go.
Tim, currently, when do the department heads have to have their numbers to you?
That's fluctuated from year to year, but usually it's by the end of August. But we've been working that we would like to move that timeline up. So we have that, and that's kind of like, that goes back to my previous statement, is like, if I can have the capital by the end of April, because that's really the big item that's like can fluctuate from year to year. The operating budgets can be projected fairly easy, as Jake Alderman Catnaw referenced that. It's like, then I would like to do like capital by end of April, that I can provide a projection and saying, okay, here's where we sit based on those projections. Now let's sit down as a council to determine where we want to go with the 2023 budget. And that can occur in, I'm guessing like June would be a good month to do that, and sit down and saying, okay, now here's where June, here's how we're, as a council, where we feel the budget should go. That gives guidance to the department heads now for June, July, August to develop their budgets based on the guidance provided by council.
I like that idea.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Matt?
I like that idea. Also, I want to say I completely agree with Jake that to be able to talk about this every month, I don't see any harm in it. If there is nothing to be said in that month, then it's a line item that we bring up and then we go past. But for the most part, I think it would be a great way for us to really be able to ask the questions and get the information and keep it on the forefront. So even by June, to be able to have a bigger meeting at that point in time to make sure we can give the department heads that direction, I think would be great. So I'm in favor. Again, it's up to the committee chair if they're willing to, do something like that. But to be able to have that discussion every month I would definitely be here for that, so I can get my education, and be able to, not jump the gun at the end of the year and, tailspin a little bit there. But in the end, I think it's important. It's important for us to do this. And then on the other side, I think what we're looking for is to just be able to say, like right now, as Jake says, we're looking at the 2022 budget. Then we're going to project that forward to the 2023 budget. Tim would be able to bring us bigger changes that we'd have to foresee. But at the same time, we can start saying, all right, if we're looking at, transportation utility versus special assessments versus debt, we're still looking at somewhere in the ballpark, and I know this is a low number, $500,000 on special assessments or 380 or something like that. But then it's anywhere between $1.5 million to $2.5 million on the debt that we're taking out in order to do the roads. So really, to balance the budget, if we're not going to do transportation utility, we're not going to do debt, and we're not going to do special assessments, we got our work cut out in order to figure out what is available in the budget to take out so that we can cover, if it's even possible. But I think it's something to strive for, to get our city in line with what what I heard from somebody was what we're spending is in direct correlation to what we're actually making, what we're bringing in. And that's where I'd like to be. Thank you.
Patrick?
And just one thing that I would like to add, I know you, Tom, would like to go through item by item, and that is something that we can do. But really, I think it would be good to leave this up to the department heads to see where they can save money
Oh, yeah.
and what they can do to change the way they're operating.
No,
And we're not that far off. We're at 95% of the way there. We're only 5% over right now. We're so close, but yet every year we run over. So I would much prefer to leave the majority of the work up to the department heads and not, as a council. We can still go through it line item by line item, but I would think that the department heads would know where there could be savings more than me or anybody else here.
I agree that department heads, they know better than whoever for what they need for us to, I guess, to come up with the dollars or whatever that they need or want. And so it's, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be item by item, but, you know, more of a bigger picture maybe, or how to look at it and what, how to do or what to do with it. But I'm willing to go along, I guess, with Tim, if we can do that with the capital by the end of April, say, or something, and see where we move from that. Maybe, I don't know about every month, but I'll try to maybe put something on the agenda while I'm chair to maybe address it if somebody has something, a question about the budget or something, if they want to mention something about it. You know, maybe on this, it won't be anything that, unless something comes up specifically. If it's just something that somebody has to, that they would like to add to what part of this discussion that we're having here to further us along as the year progresses, so. But I think that,
Chairperson Rome,
what's that?
I just want to, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. No, I think the appropriate action is this time is hold this item over. And I think at the next, the February council meeting, the mayor and I can develop a timeline that kind of enumerates everything we've talked about today. And then that way it's kind of like all formalized and there's expectations not only from the council, the mayor, but also the department heads. And then we can proceed and it's like, and then we can, you know, develop it going forward. But I think that initial capital request by April, budget projection, maybe the whole, where we kind of review, here's our projection, you know, which direction we want to go as a city and a council. And then, you know, and then we can, you know, can give the guidance to the department heads as they develop their departmental budgets. And I think that will, you know, be a very healthy budget process.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
Thanks. So in regards to the leaving it up to the department heads, a couple things I would say on that is in this previous budget process, I myself asked each department head or each one that we met with if they thought there was anything that they could go without or if there's any room in their budget. And of course, you know, the answer is no. And I understand where they're coming from. I mean, they're in those departments. They see everything in their budget as a need. So I would just caution with that expectation that they're going to come back and pick a certain part of their department budget that they feel they don't need anymore. I don't see that going as smoothly as it might sound to give them the option. I mean, well, you can give it, but you might get the same result because it's not like we didn't do that in previous budgets or in particular this year. So as a council or even as a committee, we have to be prepared to look at those and possibly make those choices for them if they can, if that's where we want to get to, is where we're not using any debt at all. So.
Mayor?
Yeah, I guess to piggyback on what Jake said and Patrick is that, you know, understandably the department head looking at their budget may feel something's a priority, but it may not be necessarily what the council's priority is or the community's priority, who obviously is represented by the council. So I think trying to work together with them, because I might think something's a priority in my budget that the council may not think it's any kind of priority to the community. And I think there needs to be some kind of working together on determining what those budget priorities are, so we can at least, you know, provide the public, or at least what the public feels are the priorities, but working together more so.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I think so too, that, we got, the departments for what they need or want, but, in your case, Mayor, for what you look at, I guess for your projection or what you would like to see the city to do, to come forward with, and that's your right to do, the council members, what they want to see done to lend input onto, if it's, street building or library or whatever it is, to lend input as we go through the process of changes that can be made or whatever, because, some of these are big ticket items, and, to talk about, Patrick, and we borrow the money, but the budget is balanced. It is balanced, but it's a different way you look at it. So that's worthy of discussion too. But I mean, it's, if we can ever get to the point, I guess, that we don't have to borrow the money, that's one thing. But, when you have the street projects and all this other stuff, that's to be included into it. I mean, and I'm not saying not to do the work to do it, because it's going to take work. But I don't know in the short term that you can get by without doing some of that stuff. Now, to reduce some of it, maybe, but to go totally away, like flipping the switch right off the bat, I don't know that you can do that, but we'll see. Okay, that's just my comments, because it's some of those are big ticket items. Well, the street projects are. I'm just using that for an example, and to take money out of departments that are going to offset something like that, that's a big wipeout. I mean, not just a wipeout, that's a lot to totally offset. So I mean, I'm all for the discussion on that. It's just part of, there is a lot of money. The budget is big, it's huge, won't deny that. It's, if we can do better, I'm all for that. It's just how we get there, and I think with the utility to whatever we come up with that, or how we get there, I mean, some of that's gonna could lend a big part in what we do too. That's not the end to all of it either, but which route we go with that, or if we end up just with the assessments or what, but we're looking at the utility fund, so we've changed and done timeframes on doing the budget has been different, as Tim has said, many different times. It's over the years, and I think here is going to be an earlier start, probably, I think, than we ever had on anything, when he's talking about the end of April like that, to put something into motion in that. So I think when he talked about him and the mayor getting together even in February or something, that to put something together to see where we can continue the discussion or whatever with it. So that might be too. So it's a lot of money. And just it's just to wipe off one. You could wipe out a whole department just about, and that might take care of what the problem is. But then you lost the department altogether. So, just something we'll have to take it as we discuss this through the year to see where we go. Okay, Jay.
So I guess I'll make a motion to have the mayor and Tim submit a timeline in February for us to discuss this again. I guess my question for Sue is, if we're going to have these standing agenda items, we don't have to have a motion for that, correct?
I don't think we really need a motion, even Jay, to have the mayor and that. I think this is just on here for discussion tonight, and I think if they follow through with that, that they do.
You trust them?
Well, if they don't, and if they don't, then we come back with it. Then we come back with it. So
Fair
okay?
enough, then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on this, that they'll do that, and everybody that's here and watching and whatever, listening, that, if they don't, give us a call and we'll rattle their cage and make sure they do, so,
Very
okay?
good. Thank you.
Matt?
I know we're looking to move on here, just something quick. I just don't, I don't think we're looking at wiping out a department. We're not looking to wipe out things for the city. We're not looking to, to cut employees. We're looking at 5%. And only the people, because I know if I sit down and I say, cut this, well, we can't cut that because this is this can't be cut. So there's people running the budget, running the economy of the city that know what can and can't be cut, and they know where the money can be taken from without causing all the trouble. And we can go through all that, but in the end, I think this is just my opinion. Our job is to say we want to bring things back into where we can run the city with $40 million, and then find the overage in that 40 million to be able to say we can run this city and be sound. And it's not like we're the only ones that would run a city that way. I know people have said that debt is normal and we should just do it because everybody else does it, but I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think we should just give it a concerted effort and say we have $40 million. So that means we have to do every department within the realm of $40 million. And when they say I can't, then we encourage them to say, let's figure out how you can and bring it back in without having to lose any departments or anything. Think positive. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Chairperson Riom?
Tim, go ahead.
Yes, I think it's a little bit misleading when we look at the $40 billion budget, because that includes all the funds, including utilities and things like that. And when you're talking about property tax, that only supports a section of the budget. So, I just want to kind of just be, careful when we say it's like $40 million, let's cut $2 million out of that. But when you actually subtract out the things that aren't able to be cut in the whole municipal budget of $40 billion, because it includes debt service, tax criminal districts, utilities and things like that, room tax and things like that. I just want to caution that. So, as part of the analysis, when we get into April and that projection, I'll provide those numbers, or if even in February, I can provide that. When you're talking tax levy, debt, and things like that, what part of the budget does that affect? And I will provide that analysis.
Thanks, Tim. And if there's nothing else, we'll do that, and we'll try to keep Tim, you and the mayor, to come up with some type of timeline that you can show us here in the next month and a half or so, I think it is, and see what there is. And as we go through this, through the course of the year, to see if there's a way that we can fine tune, maybe if that's a way to say it, the process, that we can, if it's to put more things more back in line or whatever it is, or to maybe explain better of what the things are or what people want or whatever. But I think it's again, it will come down to the wants and wishes really of the people, of the, the projects they want and that type of stuff, where they want the city to go, what, so we'll see where we go. I think the discussion tonight was good. We're starting at our first meeting of the year with the finance committee, so I think that's a good sign for us. So we're not like we're starting in May with this. So it's we put this I guess on the front burner to one extent here, and we'll see what we come up with. Hopefully we make the process a little better than what it's been. So, okay. Thank you, everybody. With that, item number 4 is audit of the bills.
I got nothing. You want a motion? I'll make a motion to approve check number 100997 to 11313.
I'll second that. Jake, did you have anything? Hearing nothing, committee will vote on the audit of the bills. All those in favor respond by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 5 is to set the next meeting date, and if I wrote hopefully on my sheet here was right, the Tuesday in February is the first Tuesday being the first, and we'll meet at 4:30. And if that's okay with everybody, that we'll continue that. And with that, we'll go to item number 6. The committee may vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E, Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. In closed session, the committee may discuss negotiation and strategy regarding a lease agreement with the Wisconsin Rapids Community Theater for space in the Centralia Center. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. I'll second that. Committee will vote, and we'll have a voice vote here. Jake?
Aye.
Tom? Aye. Okay, and with that, we're going into closed session. We will return to open session for those that'll be interested. Okay, we're ready to go, and so Finance Committee is back in open session. And so I guess we're at number 8. And to review and approve a lease agreement for the Wisconsin Rapids Community Theater for space in the Centralia Center. Jake, did you want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion to propose a lease to Wisconsin Rapids Community Theater as staff presented for $1,250 for 30 months with the additional storage space.
I'll second that. Any further discussion by anybody? Yeah,
Can I ask a question outside of closed session at this point or no? Like, does it have to be 30 months? Could it be a year and a half and put it at their thing just to give them that leeway or?
Well, we could counter that, but I guess that would have been, I guess we're going to talk negotiation strategy, and we should have done that in closed session, but I guess it's up to the committee's going to have to vote on the motion that's there, and if they want to have a different motion, that would be up to the committee to do that.
we do have the motion on the floor, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that motion.
Yep. There's no further discussion. Committee will vote. All in favor, respond by aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's 3-0. And with that, that brings us to item number 9, and that's to adjourn. And with that, I'd make a motion to adjourn. It's at 5:40 p.m. Got a motion and a second to adjourn. Committee, all in favor, respond by aye. Aye.
Aye.
With that, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Good evening.